Well, good morning, good evening, or good night, depending on where you're at and what time it is. Today, we are going to be looking at your next lesson, which is based on segments and their measures. Now, before we really get to anything at all here, let's kind of take it a real life example of what we're going to be really kind of looking at today. And really, the best way that I can kind of put segments and their measures is kind of like looking at a ruler. And with that ruler, you have X amount of inches plus X amount of inches equal the entire distance that you're looking at. Now, to put that in more of a mathematical perspective, let's take a look at the first line that we have here under notes. Meaning, if B is between A and C, then AC equals AB plus BC. That right there is going to be your bread and butter for this entire process here. Now, to put that into maybe even more of a simplified term, we're going to look at it as a small piece plus another small piece equals the whole thing that we're looking at, or this big piece. So if I'm looking at this diagram here to the right, I have all of AB right here. I have all of BC right here, and those two parts, when added together, equal all of what AC is. Let's kind of take a look now at the math part of this and actually doing some work with this. So question number one, we're trying to find out what is EF, or in this respect, what is BC actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to be calling this BC here X. We don't know what it is. We know that the first part of this segment is AB, and we know that the total thing, if we were to add it all up, is AC. Now again, we kind of want to go back to right up at the top where AC equals AB plus BC. Again, this is your bread and butter through this whole thing. Right now we've got AB is 10, so that's what we're going to put down. It's 10. We know what BC is? No. So we're going to call that X. It has to have a placeholder, so let's have that there as X. And if you add those two parts up together, you are going to get 16. Now, when you look here, you now have a basic algebra solving equation. So how do you solve for X given the situation? Well, you got to subtract 10 over to the other side. And when you do that, it cancels out. 6 minus 10, or X equals 6. And it makes sense, too. If AB is 10 and BC is 6, if you were to add them together, you get 16. Number two is a lot more of the exact same. You know the total, or your AC is 12, but this time around you know what the BC is. Well, you don't know what AB is. What do you do when you don't know something? Well, it's an X. It's an unknown. It's what we're looking for. But you're still going to set up these two problems exactly the same way. Meaning AB, or X, plus BC, which is 7, is going to equal what your AC is, or 12. Same thing as last time, subtract 7 over from 12, and X will equal 5, or AB equals 5. Now, number 3, tiny bit different. Well, why is that? Because we're not given what AC is. That's this time, that's the X. But we have both parts to the beginning. We have the two small pieces, or the AB plus BC part. So let's work with that. AB, which is 14, plus your BC, which is the magical number of 6, equals X. Well, this should be even easier than the last two. It's just what is 14 plus 6, or X equals 20, or to furthermore, AC equals 20. So that's it just on the basic diagram of that. Again, real easy. Don't try to make it harder than it is. It's really just following the format of AB plus BC equals AC. If you kind of follow that, you're going to be just fine. Now, we got congruent segments next. And what we have here basically is just saying is that the segment with the same length, they are congruent. And we're going to use tick marks to indicate congruencies. So like right here, if AB is congruent to CD, you just want to make little tick marks here just to kind of show that both of those marks are the exact same. So let's just say AB was 7. That means that BC would also be the distance of 7. That could be inches, that could be feet, that could be whatever. And then last but not least here, we're going to be looking at the distance between points. And we have a horizontal distance and we also have vertical distance here. Now, these two formulas right here, again, are going to be your bread and butter. You're going to be using this formula to really figure out what everything is here. Now, notice how you have x1s, you've got x2s, you got y1 and y2s. What that is just saying is, depending on the points that you're going to be looking at, it's going to be really what format or what part do you put them in. So, for example, here I have AB here equals horizontal. Well, if I want to figure that out, I got to take both of those points. So AB here, I've got -2 and I've got 3, and then for B you see you have 3 comma 3 here. Now this whole x1 x2 y1 y2 thing comes into places. Whichever one is the first order pair that you get is going to be your x1 and your y1. Your second order pair is then just going to be x2 and your y2. Now let's actually put these into a problem here. So your first formula, if we're looking at horizontal, we're going to be looking then at, well, the horizontal formula. So sometimes what really helps out, I know a lot of other people, is just kind of getting everything in order, meaning let's stay organized, let's get out that formula, let's write it down so it's a lot easier for both of us to kind of look at once. Now notice that this x1 minus x2, they are inside of these little bracket-like things. Those are called absolute values. Now before we kind of solve this problem, let's just kind of refresh our memory on what an absolute value is. An absolute value is a number that is always going to end up being a positive number. So for example, if I gave you the absolute value of 5, it's just going to equal 5. Well, same thing could be said if I give you the absolute value of -5, it's still going to be 5. So whatever number that you get after doing x1 minus x2, regardless if it's positive or it's negative, the answer is always going to be positive then. All right? So let's continue on with this. So our x1 here we have is -2. Then that's going to be minus your x2, which here is 3. Now, -2 minus 3 equals the absolute value of -5. Well, luckily, just right above here, the absolute -5 equals 5. So therefore, the horizontal distance is going to be 5. And that is it there. Let's try the same thing now, but with the vertical. Now, it's looking at C and D. So let's get those points out right now. Meaning -3, comma 4, and then we got our D, which is of -3, comma -1. Again, your first point is just the x1s and the y1s. The second point is always going to be x2 and y2. Now, your formula this time, it's a little bit different. This time, instead of using x1, we're going to be using y1. And instead of x2, we're going to be using y2. So it's really almost the exact same thing as your horizontal distance, but instead of your x's, we're interchanging them with the y's. So again, it's really nice to kind of make sure that you label them as I've done so. It's just going to help you to stay organized and not to mess up. And obviously, that's a great thing to do. And half of math, half of the battle is just staying organized. So let's finish this up. We've got y1, which is now absolute value of 4, minus your y2, or of -1. Now again, be careful here. We've got 4 minus a negative. When you minus a negative, it's always going to turn then into a plus or a positive. So now this is an addition problem. If you see those right off the bat, always try to just get them done right away. Make them positive, make them plus. However you want to look at it, it's ultimately just going to help you to stay organized and to make things easier for you so you make less mistakes. And obviously, that's always a good thing to do. All right, now let's continue on. We've got 4 plus 1. Everyone should be able to get that. You now have the absolute value of 5. Now it's just 5. Now again, with an absolute value, it's always going to be positive. It's not like it's going to turn into a -5 for an answer. The absolute value of 5 just, well, remains 5. And there you have it. You got your horizontal distance for AB, and you also have your vertical distance for CD. And that's it that we have for today. Make sure that you bring your notes in for tomorrow, and we're going to continue on with some in-class practice then tomorrow. Have a great rest of the night. Be sure to review this if you need to, and we'll talk to you later. Good night, good afternoon, or have a good rest of the morning. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.